The US CCP trade war represents a fundamental shift in the global economic landscape. It is a clash between two economic titans, each vying for dominance on the world stage. This conflict, brewing for years, finally erupted in 2018 with the imposition of tariffs on goods traded between the two nations. The Trump administration justified these tariffs as a necessary measure to address the trade imbalance between the two countries. The US government argued that China engaged in unfair trade practices, such as intellectual property theft and forced technology transfer. These practices, they contended, gave Chinese companies an unfair advantage and harmed American businesses and workers. The trade war, therefore, was framed as an attempt to level the playing field and protect American economic interests. China, however, viewed the US actions as an attempt to contain its rise as a global economic power. Beijing argued that its economic practices were in line with international norms and that it was committed to free and fair trade. The Chinese government accused the US of protectionism and warned of the negative consequences of a trade war for the global economy. The initial volleys of tariffs were just the beginning. What started as a trade dispute quickly escalated into a broader economic and geopolitical confrontation. The trade war became entangled with other contentious issues, including China's technological ambitions, its military posture in the South China Sea, and the status of Taiwan. The US CCP trade war has been characterized by a series of escalations and retaliations, with each side imposing new tariffs and trade barriers. In 2018, the Trump administration imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, targeting sectors such as electronics, machinery, and agricultural products. China responded in kind, imposing tariffs on US goods such as soybeans, automobiles, and aircraft. These tit-for-tat tariffs continued, with each round escalating the tensions and increasing the economic stakes. By 2019, the US had imposed tariffs on nearly all Chinese imports, while China had retaliated with tariffs on a significant portion of US exports to China. The trade war had a ripple effect throughout the global economy, disrupting supply chains, increasing costs for businesses and consumers, and fueling uncertainty in financial markets. In 2025, the trade war entered a new phase of heightened tensions. The Biden administration, while continuing to express concerns about China's trade practices, sought to rally allies to address shared challenges posed by China. However, the underlying economic and strategic competition between the two superpowers remained intense, with no clear end to the trade war in sight. The trade war has also led to an increase in non-tariff barriers, such as increased scrutiny of Chinese investments in the US and restrictions on Chinese companies operating in sensitive sectors. China, in turn, has implemented its own measures, such as delaying approvals for US companies operating in China and promoting the use of domestic products over foreign imports. The economic consequences of the US CCP trade war have been significant for both countries, as well as for the global economy. In the US, the trade war has had mixed impacts. While some domestic industries benefited from reduced competition from Chinese imports, others, such as agriculture and manufacturing, suffered from retaliatory tariffs imposed by China. The trade war also contributed to higher prices for consumers and businesses, as tariffs increased the cost of imported goods. China's economy, too, has felt the strain of the trade war. The tariffs imposed by the US have hurt Chinese exports, impacting manufacturing and employment in export-oriented sectors. The trade war has also contributed to a slowdown in China's economic growth, which has had global repercussions given China's role as a major engine of global economic growth. The trade war has also accelerated the trend of decoupling between the US and Chinese economies. Businesses, facing uncertainty and rising costs due to the trade war, have begun to diversify their supply chains, seeking alternative sources of production and markets. This decoupling, while potentially reducing interdependence, also threatens to fragment the global economy and increase costs for businesses and consumers. The US CCP trade war has had far-reaching implications for the global economy and the future of international trade. The trade war has undermined the rules-based trading system, as both countries have resorted to unilateral actions and retaliatory measures. This has created uncertainty for businesses and governments around the world, making it more difficult to plan for the future and leading to a decline in global trade. The trade war has also exacerbated geopolitical tensions, as countries are forced to choose sides or navigate a more complex and uncertain global landscape. The trade war has accelerated the trend toward a more fragmented world, with the US and China leading competing economic blocs. This fragmentation has implications for global governance, as it becomes more difficult to address shared challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and economic crises. The trade war has highlighted the strategic importance of Taiwan, particularly in the semiconductor industry. Taiwan's role as a major producer of semiconductors, essential components for a wide range of electronic devices, has become a focal point in the US-CCP rivalry. The US has sought to reduce its reliance on Taiwanese semiconductors, while China has increased its efforts to develop its own domestic semiconductor industry. The future of Taiwan, therefore, is likely to remain a key point of contention in US-CCP relations. The US-CCP trade war represents a watershed moment in the global economy. It is a conflict with no easy solutions, and one that is likely to have long-lasting consequences for the global economic and geopolitical order. The trade war underscores the need for a renewed commitment to multilateralism and a rules-based trading system, as well as the importance of dialogue and cooperation to address the challenges and opportunities of an increasingly interconnected world.